Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Crack Podcast. Welcome to the first episode of the Crack Podcast. You're listening to your host, Mabricio Mookie Wilson. I'm honored and have the privilege of introducing my two co-hosts, two U.S. national team legends. The first one who's running down the left wing and doesn't stop running. Let's get a big round of applause, please, to DaMarcus Beasley.
Yeah, what's up? What's up?
Anchor in the back and always telling everybody what they need to do with their game on and off the field. Let's get a big round of applause to the legend, the boss, Oguchi.
Onyewu. Always my intro was like that.
Ladies and gentlemen, we came up with the name The Crack. Actually, I'm lying. Gooch came up with the name The Crack. Gooch, let us know what your thought process and what is The Crack?
Man, you know, we've known each other for so many years. We're always talking about anything and everything. And this is a great platform for us to express that and get people over here to express their feelings. And I was just trying to find a word or phrase or something to come up to incorporate all three of us in some way, shape, or form. And that's hard, right? And I came up, you know, I was chilling at home and I said, crack, the crack. And it just rang in my mind. And Beast can contest to this, playing in Europe, playing in Mexico with Latin players.
Yes. When
a player's talking and he calls you crack. You know,
crack.
You know, you did something good. You know, you did something good. And in playing in the UK, whenever you're talking to your boys or whatever, and they come to you, they're like, "What's the crack? You know, what's good? What's the word? What do you want to tell me about?"
If you can't tell, I'm from New York City by my accent. A lot of slang. When you call something that's crack, or something's crack, meaning something that somebody's addicted to, a drug, something that's so great, that's so powerful. You might lose your home. Your wife might leave you. Your boss might fire you because you're addicted to it. You can't stop it. And that's how you're going to be on this podcast. You're going to want to listen to it in the morning. You want to listen to it at night, in the shower, while your girlfriend, your wife is trying to talk to you. You're going to get in trouble. So before you subscribe, think of those things that's going to happen. And fellas, we have an awesome episode today. We have one of the talented U.S. national team players. Some people say former, some people say he might still have a chance. But we have Geoff Cameron joining us from Stoke City, somebody you two guys played with and who we feel fits our platform. Somebody who on and off the field, is the crack, right? Goose, can you give me that Spanish version real quick?
Crack.
Hey,
he did all right with the New York accent. It was all right. What
He tried. You know, Jeff's gonna be awesome, man. He's known for not holding his tongue and speaking his opinion. So I'm really anxious and excited to hear what he has to say.
And he has a value opinion as well. You know, that's very key.
For sure.
Yeah, man. I mean, Bees, you were known for your whole career not to really be as media friendly. Why?
He's not friendly, period.
I am friendly.
But I'm excited that
you can't even say it with a smile.
I'm excited that you that you decided and agreed to come on this podcast, and it's one of your ideas.
Yeah, man. It's something that I think people will see a different side of me because I wasn't I won't lie, I wasn't an open book when I played. I didn't do a lot of interviews. I mean, I can tell you, I'm sure probably every, a person that tried to interview me, I turned them down at least 3-4 times, each one. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't an open book. So for me, I think this will, show people a different side of me. And, just, looking to have fun with it. You know what I'm saying? My opinions, what I think about different issues that's going to come up. And I'm definitely looking forward to the podcast, and hopefully it all works out.
But if people don't know, when the first time, Goose, that you met DaMarcus?
When's the first time? Oh shoot!
Wait. People don't know this though.
Oh,
Goose was my size. Goose was my size. I'm telling you, Goose was my size when I first met Goose. He was tall. But he was lanky. Just think of a toothpick.
Oh,
A tall
wow.
toothpick.
Light skin toothpick.
You don't even
Same
have
color as the
to,
toothpick.
you don't even have to go that far. Just think of a tall bees.
There you go.
Okay.
Or a black Peter Crouch.
Oh, okay.
Black Peter Crouch, you know.
Yeah, but yeah, he was tall, lanky, lanky.
I told myself I don't want to end up this way, so I hit
So he started doing his push-ups.
So what age did you guys first got a chance to encounter each other?
like
Well, it's probably what, 14, 15?
14,
something
15,
like that?
something
Yeah,
like that.
14,
Wow.
15. Yeah, it's been a while, man.
yeah.
And
Bees was that kid that looked half the size of everybody else, and you were wondering.
Yo, it's
Why-
because my
why
jersey
you-
was so big.
True. Different times, different style of jerseys.
I always wonder why this little man just can't stay on the ground when you knock him down, man. I'm like this little thing won't quit. It's on popping up in stride. I'm like, good
Right.
Lord.
So the first camp, was it U17 or was it U14? Was it U16? What was the first national team camp? People do not know,
16, right?
Oguchi and Onyewu is from the DMV, out of Maryland, and DaMarcus Beasley is from Fort Wayne, Indiana. And congratulations, DaMarcus. I haven't spoken to you about it, but I did see something today that said that you have some works going in and developing a USL team in Fort Wayne.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? That's a big round of applause for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. So yeah, I'm excited about that, man. The opportunity, obviously USL reached out to me a while ago. We've been in talks with the city, the mayor, and just trying to move the game forward. You know what I'm saying, and try to give players another pathway, to professional soccer. And what better than have that in my hometown, my backyard? You know what I'm saying? Like when I was growing up, there was nothing, even close to this, close to Fort Wayne. So for me, it's something special, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity. Like I said, we're slowly getting there. It's not, nothing's finalized yet, but we're going to try to, put some awareness to that part of Indiana and make something great happen, man.
So Gooch, again, your first impression. He already told me his first impression. Your first impression was like, who is this little squeaky thing who won't stay on the ground? And that's funny you said that. The first time I played against DaMarcus, I kicked the hell out of him. And the same time he hit the ground, the same time he got up, I said, what the hell is this?
What was this?
This was when you guys were the U20 camp before you guys were going into the World Cup or CONCACAF tournament. And I was playing with a Haitian team by Coach Nono down in Copa Latina, which is a huge
Coach Nono.
Yeah, which is a huge men's tournament down in Miami that would get over like 20,000 fans come to the games. Haiti was one of the top teams. Venezuela was one of the top teams. Each country had a team, and I was the only non-Haitian playing on the team. So Nono.
I thought you was Haitian.
Hey, my parents are Jamaican. Big shouts out to the Haitians, though.
Mookie and Josie look exactly the same.
People do think we're brothers when I walk down the street. But the funny part about it is that this Haitian team was all the Haitian national team players would come up from Florida and they would take care of them, put them in apartments, pay them, and for the tournament. So all the Haitian media would cover it. So Nono, who was the head coach, would always tell me, he said, listen, Mookie, after the game, run into the locker room because we can't have nobody thinking you're not Haitian. They'll kill me.
Word? That's funny.
Yeah, man. So we played a friendly against you guys, and Gooch, the tall toothpick, was definitely in the back playing next to Yee.
Oh, the hate.
and my biggest memory from that game, besides DaMarcus going down and coming up at the same moment, was somebody played a ball over the top to Landon Donovan, and he full speed, full stride, received the ball, brought it down, and finished without even taking off a pace. And that's the first time I said, "Damn, who is this?"
I think I taught him that one.
You might have played him the ball. It sounded like a long ball. Sounds like you. So you might have been.
Yeah.
No, I think I taught him how to bring it down.
How to bring it down
and finish it.
Zero chance.
Goal scoring Gooch. There we go.
So fellas, so this is something that we're not new to each other. We are brothers. We are family. This is something that we wanted to do that was genuine. This is not something that's going to be made up. It's just being ourselves and discussing and giving our opinions on football, on things that have to deal with our culture and relevant to us. And one thing I want to speak to you guys about is football is back, baby.
It's back. Yes.
It's about damn time.
Oh, man, I can't believe it. So this weekend, the Bundesliga hit off, and the first game was Dortmund against FC Schalke. And I'll be honest, it was the only game I was able to catch. Did you guys see the game? What game did you see? And what did you guys think of the no fans? You're talking about a stadium that holds 60,000, 80,000 people, and nobody's there.
Yeah, I saw bits and parts of Leipzig and Dortmund, and we were mixed emotions, right? And so everybody's excited about sports coming back, football coming back, but then it's like you're underwhelmed by some of the elements of it, right? Like when they score, these elbow bumps, and then like there's certain elements that a crowded stadium ignites in a game, like
very true.
A 40-yard recovery run, because you hear the fans screaming. You don't see that, and you don't have that urgency to do that. So, I mean, albeit we were happy to see the game come on, because in any way, shape, or form. But for me, it was like, obviously, without stating the obvious, you're missing elements of the great game.
I ain't gonna lie, I turned it off.
It was boring.
No, I'm not kidding. It was boring. I mean, trust me. Hey, I love the game is back. I miss live. You know what I'm saying? Watching games live, waking up in the morning, having my coffee. You know what I'm saying? And watch the Bundesliga or whatever game was on TV. But man, I couldn't watch it all.
You have to really be a soccer lover to really watch these games.
So I'm not a soccer lover?
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying in terms of.
I mean, that's what you. What?
I'm implying that you have to look in yourself and in the mirror. That if you can't sit there and watch that game, then how much you really want to watch the game? And I think that's what it comes down to. I think that, I'll be honest with you, if the Schalke game, if they didn't get beat up 4-0, imagine watching a game like that with 0-0. It's pretty tough, And I think for me, I was excited because I love hearing what goes on the field. You guys got a chance to play in a high level on the field. And I want, as a fan, to be able to hear who is cursing out who is really bossing the field. How much is a coach really providing to the players that they're actually paying attention and listening to? But I don't speak German, so that didn't help me. So I barely
speak English. Shoot.
Barely speak English. So I watched the Leipzig game, and I was like, okay, this game. And I watched that game, and there's certain things I like. Like you can hear the knock of the ball, the pace a little bit more. But again, just for me, I feel like I was watching a scouting video.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see it. It's difficult to watch a game without fans, because fans bring that extra element of emotion, right? And so I think when people heard like the UFC came back and it was great, it's a different sport, right? It's a completely different animal than like that's like watching the NBA with nobody in the stands, like
right. I mean, just wait to this. And I saw, I think I saw something on. I read something somewhere. I can't remember where it was. That's the trash talk that's gonna be when the NBA comes back.
They have to mute the cursing.
No fans, and they're gonna have if they have microphones around the court. Oh man, that's what I want to hear.
The funniest
be a lot of bleeping. Beep, beep, beep.
The funniest thing, you hear somebody screaming, like that one person into the hollow stadium screaming at the referee, and it reminds me of my father on the sidelines. At a youth game, and it's so funny to hear that. And again, it also for myself, again, as a fan, it shows how these plays are a little bit more real and like the average human being. When you play in a stadium where it's almost like a play, it's like a Broadway play. You look at these guys like they're bigger than life, and when you watch them play here, you kind of look at them a little bit differently, And that's a take. But as a player, how much does it affect you, Gooch, as a player, especially playing in the back and screaming at DaMarcus Beasley, and now him be able to hear everything? Does it help you as a person who's the center back, who's the last man before?
It's probably in terms of communication and direction, it's going to help you out.
Yeah.
Like I said in the beginning, in regards to like that 12th man on the field, you don't have that extra push that maybe, I've been on teams where we've come back from like 3-0 down before, and then that was from the push from the fans and just the belief from them. And not saying that's not possible without them, but it definitely helps. It's an element of assistance.
Moog, I got a question.
Yeah.
You said that you watched the games, right?
Yeah.
Well, you watched the one game. Which game you said you watched?
I watched two. I watched Dortmund versus Schalke, and I watched Leipzig. Who did they play against? They played Freiburg.
Oh, I mean, it don't matter. Anyway, I No, because I'm curious about this 5 substitute rule that they got now.
Yeah.
So but the thing is that I don't. For one, I'm not a fan of it. But I want to know, did it really affect the game? You know what I'm saying? Because you get 3, and people say, "Oh, 3 subs, really changed the game because it's that." But then when you play friendly games, especially with the national team, when you play friendly, you have you can have 6, 7, 8 subs.
It felt that way.
100%, affects the game, the flow of the game. You know what I'm saying? This and that. So, what do you think about
the strategy of the coaches? Meaning that it's easier for the coach to say, "All right, no, I just sub them." And try
but I'm talking about the games that you watched. Though, did you see
That's what I'm saying.
Change? Yeah.
The change for me, it was just the strategy. It was quicker to pull a fullback and to switch him because you see if it works. So you could tell like the coaches didn't have as much stress in terms of dealing with the formation or dealing with the strategy of the game plan. And also the substitutions come quicker, right? You have 5. And another thing, it does, again, makes it feel more like a scouting game and more like a practice game with the 5 substitutions. Yeah,
but for me, it's too much stoppage. It's too much. Like, that's why, I haven't seen it, you know what I'm saying? But even with 3 subs, you got 3 subs. But
we in the life of VAR, so stoppage is the thing is part of the game now.
There you go. It's even worse. Now you got extra time when it's you get like 8 minutes after the first half. Second half you get another 10 minutes or something crazy like that.
You know what I was looking forward to this weekend?
It
was all the talk about Gio Reyna getting his first start.
I know how crazy is that.
And then he got hurt in the warm-ups.
Yeah.
And the guy, I think who started over him.
He scored, Hazard. He scored and had an assist.
Yeah.
Scored an assist.
That's football. He's young. He'll get another chance, but that's it. Hey, when you get your chance.
Dorman, when's that next chance gonna come? Not before the season's over. He might have to come off the bench the rest of the season. And that was his role initially, was an off the bench spark. Right.
And it depends on his how serious his injury is.
How serious the injury. So Gio, we definitely thinking about you. We're hoping for the best, and speedy recovery. And hopefully, they said it was a muscle situation. So you guys know if it's a hamstring, he might be done for the rest of the.
He knows more about that than I do.
Yeah, I do. My career, man, I don't know how many hamstring pulls, tears. The things just sneak up on you, boy.
But a lot of people don't know that you played in the Bundesliga.
No, man. You know what? I don't even. You see, I'm stuttering. I signed a contract. That's all I did.
You got a jersey?
I signed.
They gave me a jersey. And
they let me take picture with the owner. Like, they said welcome, and that was it. That was about it. That was my German stint. That's the length of it.
You don't speak any German?
Nah, man. I tried that. I tried shit for like 4 months. I had a tutor.
Yeah.
I tried for like 4 months. I had a tutor. You know what I'm saying? Came to my house. Try different things, and I thought it'd be kind of easy because I still knew my Dutch a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So I thought it'd be a pretty quick, easy, transition from Dutch to German, and then so it wasn't as easy as I thought. I wasn't playing. I was in Hanover, and it was a bad dream, bro.
Yeah,
a bad dream. Like,
wow, what'd you learn from it though?
I learned, man, that was probably the most trying part of my career.
Wow.
Because I had never had that before. Obviously when I went to Rangers, even at PSV towards the end, I was in and out, but most of the time it was injuries. I was injured, and then in those 2 teams, we won every single game, so it's hard to get back into the team.
I remember talking to Bees when he was in Hanover at one point, and I was
miserable. I
was telling him about a certain German club that was interested in signing me. And
Okay.
He said, "Don't do it."
Hold on. We mean certain. You retired. What German club was interested in signing you?
At the time, it was Stuttgart.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And Bees was like,
"Don't do it."
He was just telling me about his how the German mentality is different, right? And he was he's like, man, I don't know if you'd like it. Man.
Different.
But Bees, keep it real. Don't you think Oguchi is a little bit more German than he is American?
He looked German.
He look a little German. Don't you think he look a little German?
Man, your mama look German.
See how I gotta get so personal.
Yeah, I know, right? Always personal. You go from 0 to 100.
There's some good-looking German and great German people in the world, man. Look at your father. Yeah.
But my experience, man, I didn't enjoy it, but it taught me so much, about me as a person, as a player.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that year that I didn't play, basically helped me to get back to the national team, have a different focus, have a whole different focus before I went down to Mexico. Like, my whole focus was straight, no more going out, really taking care of my body in a different way.
Were you going out a lot?
Rested.
Yeah, I didn't know you could go out.
Were you going out a lot?
Man, Goose, we used to party, dog. Don't lie.
Hey, man, don't throw me into your
Goose, they got us. Come out from behind the car.
Hey, man, we used to party, dog. I ain't gonna lie, we used to party. But nah, even in Germany, I didn't leave my house. Like, I didn't leave my house. I was miserable. I wasn't playing. The city was just drew me. I don't even know how you say the word. Dreary, whatever you call it. And,
he's still thinking in German.
Yeah, man, it was not a great situation. But for me, that it was the best thing that could happen to me at that time.
But it's so valuable though, Bees, what you said, right? When you're young, you can party, you can not eat right, and still have good performances on the field. There's a certain no. There's a certain time in the age where that changes. And I think it's hard for the individual person to figure that out while he's going through it.
Yeah.
And at what age were you when you went to Germany?
I went in 2000, after 2010 season. So after the World Cup,
So you was 30, so you was 35 then.
Yeah.
Look at
you see, I was like, yeah.
He's like, yeah, no.
So yeah, I was like, what, 28, 27, something like that. So it was a great time in my career to still keep pushing and still have a lot of my career left. So I knew that's when I really, really, really settled down and was like, yo, you need to concentrate, do whatever you got to do to get back on the field, get back to your best, and do that. So my focus after that year and in the World Cup, because in the World Cup I only played 20 minutes.
Which World Cup you talking
World
about?
Cup, 2010.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So I didn't play in Germany. I didn't play in the World Cup. Didn't play in Germany, and I didn't play as much, I should say, in the World Cup. I didn't play in Germany, so I was like, man, so I got to look in the mirror. It's not just can't keep pointing the finger and saying, oh man, this dude didn't do this. He didn't do this for me. He didn't do that. He didn't do this. You know what I'm saying? For me, it was more so just look in the mirror and be like, yo, be serious with yourself. Okay.
And I think that's a great point that, you can portray that to a lot of players, right? And they're always looking like, man, the coach don't want to play me. He don't like me. Or, I don't fit. No, I'm not that kind of player in this system. Yeah. I'm like, yo, 100%. Just like you said, a lot of us need to take the time and self-reflect and be like, maybe it's not them. Maybe I can do something to change to make it better. So that's a good point.
I remember, Bees, you told me something that Klinsmann told you about your
journey. Yeah, that was a lot of it. You know what I'm saying? Klinsmann sat down. He literally asked me, he's like, yo, he's like, Bees, why didn't you play in Germany? I was like, I don't know. He's like, no, seriously. Like, why do you think you didn't play? And he was like, and I was like, I don't know. I guess, the coach, the first thing he said, wait. First thing, he's like, there'll never be in any history of coaching with soccer, or whatever. He's like, every coach is going to put the best 11 that he can make, regardless of injuries, blah, 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 that kind of stuff, that he can make on that day to win a game. So at the end of the day, it's his job's on the line, just like players, but his job's on the line. So he's going to put his best 11. Doesn't matter what kind of, relationship you have, you could even sometimes even be a bad apple, but if you're producing on the field and doing the job that he needs to do to win games for the club, he's going to start you. So basically my point is there was something that you were not doing on the field to warrant you a starting position or even playing time. Mm-hmm. He's like, and after that, I was like, you know what? You're right.
He's right.
You're right. I was always pointing fingers, like saying, "Oh man, yeah, the coach didn't like me. He doesn't speak English." Sometimes like the assistant coach, he would translate what he was saying. And Geoff,
Geoff Cameron.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get a big round of applause, please, for my guy, Mr. Geoff Cameron.
Hey,
There we go.
You got to push the button. That's how that works.
Bro, I was putting my headphones in, man.
It works a little differently in the UK. He doesn't know that.
Yeah.
Jeff, thank you so much for being a part of our first podcast. We sat here to think that who do we want to come on to birth our podcast, and we sat here.
I was against this. I was against this, by the way. You didn't, Jeff. You didn't have my vote. You didn't have my vote.
Oh, really?
We didn't want Bees on the podcast either. So
Jeff, are you on a computer or a phone?
My phone.
Can you turn it vertical so we can see?
No problem. Let me just do this real quick. Let's see. You know what? I'll just do it. I had the what's it called on it. So I had a little stand.
Yeah, I tried to tell Bees that's what he needs to use.
I need to get that.
It wasn't working for you?
Yeah, but Bees is a little old school.
What?
You could say.
He's just old.
I didn't even know how these headphones work.
Say what? Hold on, let me get this shit sorted.
But Jeff, you can use the stand. There's no problem. You can go back how it was before.
No. So I can change it the other way. It's all good.
So Jeff, we were talking about in terms of transition in your career, right? And being at one point in your career, you can eat what you want. You can not sleep, party, hang out, and then eventually sometimes it catches up to you. Bees was stating that, he was in Germany. He kind of realized that, for him not getting playing time while he was in the stint in the Bundesliga, that he had to change some things about his way of life. And Oguchi Onyewu, the same thing. What about yourself? What time period, before we tell everybody, obviously, about you, what time period do we
I would say, crazy. Like when I first, I always ate pretty healthy and stuff, but I think it was in Houston, I really had to change my diet because the heat kills you. I'm coming from like New England where I would drink like 2 gallons of milk a week, bro, like whole milk.
Damn,
and
whole milk.
Yeah, whole milk.
Oh God,
I loved whole milk with Oreo cookies, bro. I would sit there with the
you
glass.
Can't even do 2%. 2%.
Dude, I drink almond milk. Or I don't even drink milk anymore, to be honest.
Me too. Good stuff.
But like literally, I would say I went from drinking whole milk, 1 gallon or 2, and I felt heavy. I felt lethargic. Running around in that heat is no joke. And I was like, you know what? I'm done. I just cut cold turkey because I was living with Corey Ash at the time, and he would have Oreo cookies and milk with me as well.
Cookies and milk.
We would crush it. And then I was like, you know what? I'm done. Yeah. And then, then it was just little things, man. Like, I guess when you're in Houston heat, you can afford to have like the fried Oreos and all that kind of stuff because you sweat it out the next day.
Set it off.
Yeah. But I think when I transferred from, when, Jurgen came into the national team and like he brought nutrition, like he was very, very big on nutrition and like body fats. And then like at Stoke, when Mark Hughes came in as a manager, the whole entire system changed.
What's your body fat like right now?
Do you want me to get up and show you my abs and shit?
I know, yeah.
Dude, I'm not Gooch.
Gooch tests his every morning, so he thought you had like the number ready in your head. You know what I mean?
Don't you guys do the test every morning? Y'all don't do the pinch test every morning?
We do. No, we do it once a month or twice a month, and then we do the DEXA every 3 months. The DEXA, you can't lie, bro. The DEXA scan. You lie on that machine.
Is that the one you like? Yeah, okay.
No. This one you just lie on a bed, and it has this thing that goes over you and just reads your body, like reads everything, your body composition. And like, bro, everybody does all these apple cider vinegar for like a month straight because like the DEXA scan's coming up twice a day, bro.
I used to do apple cider vinegar to try to beat drug tests, not for the break. But anyway, Jeff, let's give a little back if people who are living under the rock don't really know your history. Jeff is a B-town man out of Massachusetts. Had the opportunity to go play at West Virginia and then finish and graduated at Rhode Island. But Jeff, you came into the scene, jumped into the MLS and took it by storm. Had a great career with the Houston Dynamo way before DaMarcus Beasley was there and set the imprint and set the landing strip for him. But one of the remarkable things about you, Jeff, is and one of the hardest things is going from MLS to overseas at the age that you went. Give us the listeners a little bit about that transformation and also how they can come about and of Stoke.
Yeah, that's interesting because in 2010 I did my PCL and MCL. They thought it was a complete rupture. So, you know, when that happened, I was kind of on the verge of kind of like just getting in the national team under Bob and all that kind of stuff, and had my first camp before that, and I was kind of knocking on the door, and all of a sudden I get injured. And you know, Dominic Kinnear, he's always been everybody always joked like he's my father, you know, but
your daddy.
we have a really good relationship, and you know, he put his faith in me and he trusted me, and in 2010 I re-signed, and my goal was I wanted to play MLS. I wanted to do as well as I could, but like my ultimate goal in my whole entire career, what I dreamed about was playing over in the Premier League and playing over in Europe. Yeah. So,
didn't you have that injury, the PCL?
Yeah, the PCL. Yeah, it's against that team you said that won is your Stuttgart. That's probably why I said don't go there.
That's a hard injury to come back, huh, Geoff?
Yeah, bro. It was so they basically they thought it was a complete rupture. I did it in Chicago. It was like fucking Bambi on ice, bro. I was like running one way, all of a sudden the ground was like soft but hard, you know, like those slick turfs, and I'm running one way, my leg gives out, and I'm like in my brain I'm cutting the other way, and my knee just went.
This is
AstroTurf. No, like just
it's grass
at Chicago,
okay.
At Chicago Stadium, and I just felt something weird, and then I felt my PCL, I felt the pop, and then I felt my MCL tear. And I remember just going down on the ground. I'm like, there's something not wrong. Like there's something wrong. And then I got up. I tried to push myself up and take a step. And I was like, nope, went right back down. And that's when the tears started coming because I knew something was bad. Yeah. And then they evaluated me in after the game, and they were like, there's no end point. So you know when they're doing like that and they just go like that, they were like, yeah, your shit is done. 8 months for surgery and recovery to get back to full. And then, so that was like kind of my mindset. I only had 3 or 4 days before I was doing surgery. And then they went in, they did the surgery, and they said there was 60% of it still left. There's only 40% torn. So they like cut it all up, and they like just put a PRP, kind of glued it down a little bit. And they said, okay, just, you got to let it heal 6 weeks. Don't do anything like straight.
I remember that. Yeah.
And then I got the machine to kind of go like that.
Yeah, go like that. Yeah, I remember all that shit.
Just to start bending. RPM or something like that.
Yeah. And then the worst feeling is that when you're coming back and you rip that scar tissue, and it's like I thought I did it again, bro.
That shit hurts.
And then
you have to get the flexion back in your it's the worst.
But then you get.
I had Hosh.
Ooh, Hosh is good though.
No, the scar tissue though, he was digging in my scar tissue trying to break that shit.
Oh my God. He got you right though.
Yeah, he got me right though.
It hurts. But then you kind of go through that mentality, like, you know, every player has that. You can't go through your whole career without getting injured. And you just gotta like get your mindset. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna come back. And then that's when Dom was like, okay, we want to re-sign you. And it was kind of like another contract, but it was like taking care of me because I was kind of runner up, like rookie of the year. I had a good second year. I had MLS All-Star and all that kind of stuff. So I showed my value, and he rewarded me and gave me a good contract. And then I told him, I said, listen, when I come back, my goal is I want to go to Europe. And if there's any opportunity, any team that comes in, like just let me know. And he said, if you come back and you give me your, you know, like basically as many years as you can. And he said, if there's a team that comes in for you, I'll give you my word. I'll make it happen.
And Geoff, that's brave of you to even express that to him, because you know how the MLS is so funny, especially clubs are so funny about trying to lose players and players going overseas and
he knew that was my goal. Like, you know, like,
but you've heard all the stories where players say that, and then at the last minute they renege and they were like, oh, sorry.
Of course. But the best thing about it was there wasn't just one team. There was 3 or 4 teams that came in. Yeah. It just so happened that was Stoke that agreed upon, and there was some other things. You know, the part owner of Stoke was coming into the MLS. They didn't want to ruin the relationship. I got off the phone with Tim, and Tim's like, "Don't sign with Stoke."
This is Tim Howard?
So
Okay.
I got on the phone with David Moyes, and David Moyes and he's like, "I want you to come here." And
tell us all the teams that wanted you, buddy.
Yeah.
So that was Everton. That would have been sweet. So Everton wanted you. Nice.
For me, and I played them in the All-Star game, so that was kind of like
Oh,
where
that's right. Yeah.
they kind of like saw me a little bit, and they, from what Adrian Heath told me, he said that they had a scouting report for a few years before that, and it was kind of it's a process. You know, they go out and they send their dues, and you have to get good marks or whatever. But when Tim's like, "Don't sign with Stoke," I was like, "All right, fine." Got off the phone with David Moyes. We agreed with everything. Personal terms are agreed. And then they just said, "No, you can't go to Everton. They're a bigger club. We want more money." And I was like, "What?"
MLS said that to you.
Yeah. And then like the deal was like dead in the water.
There it is.
Then
Hey, hold on.
that
Jeff,
was it.
Jeff, we gotta slow it. We gotta slow it down. So
they
they said because it's a bigger club, they wanted more money.
Yeah, I mean, but
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, bro, that's how it is. That's a business thing.
Yeah.
I mean, reality, it was like, you know, they were like, and that's when David Moyes got pissed off at the league, because he was calling the league saying, you know, like, "Hey, we've done all-star games, we've come over, we've done all these things." He's like, but it was, now you learn about it later on. Politics play behind the show, you know, and but you know, at the end of the day, it was probably the best decision because one, I was comfortable and close with Tim, so that would have been it made the transition easier. But it worked out for the best because like I made my own name in Stoke, and I was by myself, you know, like I was the only American there.
Yes.
And you know, then eventually Mo came and Brett came, but I was the only American there. And you know, like Clint was at Fulham, and then he went to Tottenham, and he made his own name there. So like it was, for me, it was kind of like, okay, this is your opportunity. Like, and I always wanted
your own path.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, you don't want to ever question yourself. And this is what I try to tell people all the time. Like, whether people doubt you or whatever, in my career, I didn't want to say woulda, coulda, shoulda. You know, like I could have stayed in the MLS, I could have signed and been happy and whatever. But like, if I made the jump over to Europe, and if I didn't play, or if I wasn't good enough, hey, at least I tried.
Yes.
And I held myself to, you know, I challenged myself in that standard, and to that degree of football. And
do you think that there are players now that are scared to make that leap because of fear of failure?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Like good players. I'm saying like national team players currently that like, I don't want to go overseas because I have it good in the MLS right now.
Yeah, bro, but that could be like, that comes with like family, lifestyle, everything, bro. Like, you know, like you're born and raised, like, not for like, if I was in Boston, I wouldn't want to play in Boston and be around that's so much more pressure. And like, and that's the thing, like the best thing was I left home. I ended up going to Texas, and like, I'm playing my first year. I was with all U.S. national team players, experienced national team players, veterans, Richard Mulrooney, Brian Mullen, Craig Weibel, guys that have won championships, Brian Ching, Dwayne DiRosario, like you had Stuart Holden, you had all these guys there, Brad Davis, you had all these guys who were very good caliber players. And I'm jumping in my rookie year and I'm learning from these guys. So for me, that was kind of like the wavelength that Dom kind of put me on, and that mentality of like having a high standard. And, you know, he just, dude, I remember it was like the third day into preseason. Dom would always do this thing in preseason. He would do, you know, the rookies, then the second, and then like, you know, the other year guys, and then the veteran ballers. And so you have 3 teams, and then it's basically like survival of the fittest, bro.
Yeah.
Like the young guys absolutely get popped, and he wants to see how well those young guys adjust.
How you gonna react?
And see how they react. And there was one play and Richard Mulrooney is my boy, the nicest guy. I cut the ball, I kind of megged him, and he just turns around and just 2-foots me.
Wow.
Like just takes me out.
Sounds
that's
about right.
And I
As he
went,
should. As he
Sounds
should.
about-
Who
sounds
the
about
hell you
right.
think you are? As he
yeah,
should.
of course. And
Yeah.
and the thing is, I wasn't trying to disrespect or anything. And
Lies.
Dom, I just got up and I played. I just played the ball. I didn't
Yeah.
say anything. I didn't like have an argument. Nothing. I didn't even give him a look. I was just a young dude. Didn't say anything to anybody. Pat Onstad wouldn't even like learn my name, you know. but then I just got up and played. And Dom pulled me after training session. He's like, "You'll make it here." He said, "You have that attitude, and you bring that intensity, that work ethic every single day. You'll have a successful career."
So,
That's
And
what
I
hey,
was
so
like,
I got one question with Dom. When because I played for Dom. He's the one that brought me to Houston when I came.
"Yep,
And obviously I came midway through the season, and he left to go to I think to LA then after Houston. Oh no, San Jose. I think he went to go coach. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so did he do this? Did he do this shit before when he was with y'all too? So if you won a game away, he would get on the bus and do this yelling thing.
yeah, awesome, awesome."
Yo, so no one told me, right? So nobody told me when we won our first away game, and he gets on the microphone and he's just like, "Dinah!" and then everybody's like, "Mo!" and I'm like, "Wait, what the hell?" Go back there.
Dinah,
And he's like,
Mo.
"Yeah, man."
Dinah,
So he did that shit before. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
that
bro.
shit-
But it was fun, man. Like that's
Yeah,
the thing.
yeah.
Every coach has its ups and downs and this and that.
Yeah.
But for me,
I
he was
like Dom. Yeah.
he was good, man. He's a player coach. You can
Yeah.
shoot the shit with him. He respects you.
Yeah.
If you challenge him, he'll challenge you. But it's a mutual respect. And then like you get your arguments, this and that. But at the end of the day, he values you as a player and as a person.
Yeah, he was cool.
I was told
yeah,
by a Dynamo player that Dom's training session is the same though every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah, they're good. I mean, like I know it's a day before like the Thursday training session. I know what we're gonna do boxes, passing, and then you do that transition drill and shit.
Yeah.
And but like for me, the sessions were good. They were like a blow. And like in Houston Heat, you can't mess around, bro. Like one session and you're done.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a kind of the same thing. Every player it's like Groundhog's Day sometimes. Every week, same thing.
So you settle for not settle. You complete your contract to Stoke City.
So I ended up like being happy going to Stoke, and it's funny because Cameron Jones, I kind of knew him a little bit, and then he kind of welcomed me in a little. And
big up Cameron, baby, that's our boy.
Yeah, the crazy thing is Clint told me, I think Bees, we had the conversation like once you go over there, like you gotta earn their respect because most of the guys won't talk to you and they'll like kind of just don't really give you the time of day until you prove yourself. And it's funny because I was reading the article and talking to Christian that when he first got to Chelsea, it was kind of the same thing. You have to earn your stripes, and like the U.S. is a good footballing country, and it's just not known. And I think people coming over here and it's being more accepted. They're accepting more Americans.
Oh hell yeah! You come to an MLS team, everybody like, yo, what up, man? I knew you from like 2 years ago, telling you stories, all this kind of shit. Big up, good morning, how you doing? Let's go have coffee. Let's go have dinner.
Nah,
Europe,
nah.
Europe, they're not trying to make friends.
But is that the ego? Is that the ego aspect, or is that just the?
I don't think it's ego because once you like Jeff was saying, once you prove yourself and you become one that you can actually help them on the field.
Yes,
it's all love. Then you meet their teammates and
it's the culture, man. They grew up. They're like, you got to show. You come from America where they, in their eyes, you're like, you should be playing NBA. Or you should be playing NFL. You know what I mean?
Well, Gooch, you could have played NBA too, bro.
Here we go.
But he don't have no hand eye coordination.
Or foot coordination.
Hey, y'all, these won't tell you this, but in residency, I smashed them up one-on-one in basketball.
Oh, here we go. You telling a story that never happened.
Just because B's from Indiana don't make him a good basketball player either.
Gooch, I would expect you to smash him up in basketball. You just post him up and just dunk on him.
This is true.
Just boom. Having your things hit his forehead.
That shit never happened. That shit never happened. Never happened. And that's
Jeff,
nasty.
did you play youth international? Did you ever get a chance?
Say what?
Did you get a chance to get called up for any of the youth international camps?
Nah. So I had a bad experience, bro. Like growing up with because it was so political.
ODP.
Yeah. So like I was on Mass State team.
Yeah.
Massachusetts State team, made the state team, and then went down to the regional team. Made the regional team, but was never made the top 24, but was never selected for any of the trips.
Mm-hmm.
The only people they selected were like Eastern New York.
Hey.
And I think it was like maybe
Maryland.
Maryland, and
Philly,
Delaware. I think
Philly always got it too. Pennsylvania.
Yeah, one or two or so.
Yeah.
But like that was it, and I was like, what?
No one thought about Massachusetts, buddy.
Nah.
Afterthought in Region 1.
Because it was like hockey, football.
Yeah.
That was a thing, and I just remember I'm like, you remember Craig Capano?
Yeah, sure. I played with him in Chicago.
Yeah, he was my age, and he was a regional team, and then boom, there was like a national team scout there. Boom, they took him right from regional team, brought him down to residency, and he was there. He was gone, and then like 2 years later, he was playing for Chicago Fire. Like I just remember, I'm like, he was my age. Like this is crazy. Then I think he retired to become a chef or something like that.
Yeah.
Who's the best player your age growing up that you remember?
Oof. I don't even know, to be honest.
What's your year?
Like,
what's your birth year?
85.
85. You were right after Eddie Johnson's year, yeah?
Yeah, what is he?
Eddie's 84.
84.
84.
So, who's in that?
But like, but the thing is, I was no one. Like, like I got like recruited. When I went to. The only reason why I went to University of Rhode Island was because my dad got sick. So the coach broke NCAA rules at West Virginia, and I was like, I'm getting out of here. I went closer to home. There was a full scholarship waiting because the two of their seniors just left. One of them signed to Montreal Impact, and I was like, all right, sweet. So there's an opportunity there, and I was like only an hour and a half away from my house.
Yeah,
and closer to my family instead of a 7-8 hour drive. And I was this little 4'11" freshman kid at high school, and then I grew up to like 6'2", and I was like 155 pounds.
We were just joking, Gooch, about he was a toothpick growing up, and then all of a sudden he just blew into who he is now. When your growth spurt was what, during high school? What sophomore year?
I would say sophomore, junior year.
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
and what position were you playing when you were younger?
I was like attacking mid.
I can see
and
that.
then I went from, as you get like, when I got
higher, you go back.
Yeah, so when I was a senior in college, I got like A10 midfield player of the year or whatever, and like I was just kind of like I wouldn't say a number 6, I would say I was a number 8. I was just kind of going box to box really, and I wasn't like an attacking guy. Or still, like, you're younger, I guess. All the players they think they're
Yeah,
I was a number 10. I was a number 10 until landed to my position.
Well, I was a number 9 until.
Yes,
but you just kind of adjust, and then it's crazy because I think I talk to kids. I talked to a bunch of kids from San Antonio who my buddy's a coach, an academy coach out there. And these kids don't realize the opportunity that they have now, bro. Like compared to when we grew up and what we had to go through, and
I think every generation is like that. They don't they only live in the now, and they don't realize. Even when we were growing up, like the generation before us, they were like, "Man, y'all don't know how good you have it." And I'm like,
"Yeah, it's true."
I was so jealous of that residency, the first residency golden child generation of you guys that you guys had, Beasley and Donovan and Gooch.
Was that what was that? Wow. What was it called? Project 40 or something?
Project 40.
Yeah, Project 40.
Yeah.
No,
it wasn't Project 40.
No.
It was the first residency program. The first time that they took a bunch of kids before U17 World Cup and had them housed, living, and playing in Bradenton, Florida.
The IMG Academy.
Yeah. But see, the thing is, I never went through that system. You guys were like, You guys were the all-stars, man. You guys were from the cool states, right?
Look at this guy with the tear in his eye. Look at this guy with the tear in his eye, sitting comfy in the UK.
So Geoff, what made you the way you are? And the way you are, how I look at Geoff and through your career, you've always been confident. You've always been a very hard worker, very passionate on the field, very competitive. That's something that you really can't teach. How would that develop? What's your sibling situation? What's your family? What's your community?
Yeah. My dad was a hockey player growing up. Hard-nosed dude.
Yeah.
Like teeth out.
And,
yeah, like no problem. And I have 2 older sisters and an adopted brother. And you know, it was to the point where, you know, my dad was hard on me growing up, hard. Because he said, you know, I didn't come from a well-off family. My parents had to make sacrifices, and my dad did construction, and he would do side jobs on the weekend so he could pay for my travel, and he could pay for, you know, my trips going to tournaments and this and that. Yeah. So like, and there was a lot of travel. So after work, he would go pick me up, or my grandfather would come pick me up, and then he'd drive me down to like, there was a Fort Devens in like near Springfield area. And that's like an hour-and-a-half drive in Massachusetts. And I'd do that 2 or 3 times a week. And then coming back, and all that stuff plays in. And my dad's like, if you're going to waste my time and you're going to waste my money because I'm going to a training session and I'm seeing you like walk around and not like give a shit, then you can sit your ass at home and I'll save the money. And, you know, there are games where I had bad games and he'd rip me on, like, I didn't want to ride in my dad's truck on the way. Hell no. But I look at it now and I'm like, if he didn't do that, I would have been complacent. And I would have been just like the other kids that didn't ever make it because they didn't have the attitude, they didn't have that drive. And he said, hey, listen, you can make it.
Did you grow up, let me say, this might be a little bit too private, but were you like middle class, upper middle class?
He just said it.
You know, I don't know. He said how he grew up. He didn't say like his household.
I said like a middle class. I mean, like the house that my parents, my dad, like I said, my dad did construction and did well for himself. But like, you know, I had 2 older sisters. They were doing their thing, and you know, we didn't drive like Mercedes or anything like that. My dad had a GMC truck, and my mom had a Volvo. You know, like
and that ODP fee was real. And going to these tournaments,
bro. When you're paying, like my parents would say, like you're paying $1,000 or for just a fee for the year. Yeah. And then that's not including like these tournaments and hotels. You know, like I remember I got in trouble from school and I didn't do like whatever, and my dad just laid into me. And he's like, "You're not going. You don't want to do the schoolwork. You don't want to put the effort in. That's all right. I'm not going to put the effort in. I don't give a shit. You don't give a shit. I don't give a shit." And like you go through those moments, and it's kind of tough love, and
you don't realize it until you're older. And it hits you,
man. Like I cried. I was like, I hate you, Dad. Like I don't want to talk to you. I want to just hang out with my buddies down the street. And like they're playing. He's like, no, go in the backyard, go juggle a soccer ball. You know, like you got to put the effort in.
Geoff, that's so real. I remember growing up, and my father, who played soccer growing up, and you know, so he was such a big critic. I can score 5 goals, and he'll tell me about the 5 bad passes I made. And the worst was that drive home. That's far.
It's brutal, bro.
And brutal. But two things that happened, right? It made you the man you are, because imagine those parents who told their kids all the time, "Oh, you play so
You're
good.
Gonna be great.
Don't worry about it. It's always the coach's fault." And then also you develop a relationship with your father that a lot of people don't get a chance to. But those long drives, those every weekend being committed to going to a tournament.
100%. Those are the best memories that I have. Best memories with my grandfather. You know, who passed away. It's been over 15 years now. But it was like a tripod. It was my dad, my grandfather, and me. We had a special relationship. And the crazy thing is I had to listen to, like, my grandfather drove. I had to listen to jazz music. I fucking hated it.
my dad the same way.
Hated it.
I bet you got a jazz collection now, though.
I love it.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than I love just chilling, having a sip of Woodford Reserve on the rocks.
Nice.
And then I'll just put on some chill jazz, and like it just makes me reminisce a little bit. And
Isn't
makes
it
me think
funny
about my grandpa.
how we don't think about how much we end up becoming like our
parents.
parents
Yeah,
when
our
we're
parents.
older?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you're
But-
like,
but
oh,
you
I hated
pick
that,
up
but
the-
now you're like,
But you pick up the good, you know, like you realize like how it affected you, and you're like, okay, those are the things I want to continue and keep. And the things that you maybe you've had bad experiences, or like, you know, of the society that we live in now, and especially with the generation, these kids, like some of these kids need to get smacked up the head. They need everything's been
Hard,
given
tough
to them.
love. And that's the
Yeah.
problem right now
Yeah.
with the academy system. It's like these kids,
Everything's given to
14,
them.
they always get they emulate in the MLS academy, and they think that they made it already. And as when we grew up, we played ODP. You had to make the states, you had to make the regional team. There's a negative part of it because there's politics. So a lot of great players weren't able to make those situations. But we didn't have 10 academies in one state where everybody feels who they're not that good, but they feel like I'm on academy. I don't have to work as hard, and I'm privileged. And look at the jersey I got we wearing.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, even in my last couple of years in with Houston, like some of the young kids that come train, and you know how you got to wear, like, you know, now you got all the heart monitors and all that you got to put on so you know how far you run, this and that, blah blah blah. But you know, back in the day, you know, Goodfoot Pierre, you know, we didn't have none of that, the watches and, you know, all the technology. So we'd be like, are you tired? I'm like, nah. Can you play? All right, go ahead, run, play. But now, my point, now you got kids that come to the first. I need to check my see how much I ran today. I need to see
my loading is high.
Yeah, my load is high. I don't know if I can you know, train tomorrow. I'm like, excuse me? I'm like, for one, you're only 17 years old, 16 years old.
That's supposed to be for the older guys, man.
Exactly. Why are you checking that shit? Yo, just go out there and run until you fall out. You know what I'm saying? That's what we used to do. We ain't have none of that other shit that they have today.
So
but
Geoff,
that's a mentality, Yeah,
exactly. That's going on to the mentality part.
You take off, you go to Stoke. What was your first impression of Stoke and the Premier League when you first got there?
It was crazy, man. Like I was in awe. I was in awe. Like I just remember my first game was against Arsenal.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, like we actually
was that at the Emirates?
No, that was at Stoke.
Okay.
And like Stoke and Arsenal hate each other.
Yeah.
Like they hate each other. Game was sold out, packed. I actually just got back from Mexico. Bees, you were at the game when we beat Mexico, right?
Yeah.
In Azteca?
Roscoe scored? Yeah, when Roscoe scored. Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, Roscoe scored.
Yeah.
So I had my first Premier League game like 3 days after that. And I remember flying, I was like, I literally, because I was still in a hotel.
Yeah.
I landed Thursday night or Friday morning. And then I was in the hotel, and it was an early kickoff. It was a 12 o'clock kickoff. And I'm like nervous and like anxious. And then I just remember walking out, and then you hear Delilah, you hear the song, like everybody, and you're just like, holy shit, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here. You know, like this is the Premier League. You hear the anthem, and you're walking onto the pitch, and you start getting goosebumps, and you're like, damn. And then it was kind of like, it happened so quick, where I just remember one play. We were in their box. All of a sudden, it was like 2 passes. Ramsey almost goes through. Van Persie passes it Van Persie, and they're on our 18, and I'm sprinting. And we defended for our lives for about 5 minutes, and then it was like 1 or 2 passes, and we're down on their end.
Yeah.
And John Walters threw, and just the speed of the game, the quickness was so fast, and I was like, the international level is slow compared to the Premier League.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right? When you agree,
I agree.
It's different. I think the Premiership is the fastest football in the world.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the best football, but definitely the fastest in terms of pace, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, you're definitely right in terms of your.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. You think of the World Cup. They're slow. Yeah. You basically you attack and then you defend. You attack. It's not no up and down. You know, going up and down.
And you know what the crazy thing is? So when I got back, or actually I noticed it more of when I was under Mark Hughes, because they would always say, like, if you go back for international, you come back to the club, they'd be like, this Premier League speed. Premier League pace. This is not international. This is not like, and they would say it because like the boxes, you're doing 5v2 and you're whipping it in, and like the mess around boxes and the national team. Some guys are lazy. They wouldn't they give you a bad pass and like, nah.
Gooch.
Mo's the worst one, bro.
Mo's the worst. Gooch.
Not Gooch. I don't
Josie's
give
one.
Not Gooch.
Yeah,
lazy.
But you know those ones.
You out of your damn mind, boy.
You never move to try to get the ball, like trying to help the person that's on the ball. Like
you guys do.
Are you out of your mind?
Walk away. They do the moonwalk away. They're like,
B didn't know what defending was to the last 5 years of his career.
So you go through those experiences with the national team, and like that's just like the big difference of the speed of play. And then like I'm thinking Mexico, I'm off of a high, and then I'm like on another high because I'm like, this is my first Premier League game of my career, and I'm walking out and I'm like, damn, that's Van Persie.
Yeah,
that's like, oh damn, that's like, oh my God. And then you're like, why are you sweating these dudes? Like, you're about to play them, like you got to smash them. And I had a really good game, and for my first game, it was like a test, like because the crowd want to see you're the new signing, you're playing midfield, and you make a good play, they clap. You make a bad play, they get on you. And you gotta adjust.
Well, just to pause you right there, because we were talking about this earlier, and you bring up the crowd, and we were talking about this weekend how the Bundesliga started up again, and there was no crowd, and how that could have affected the gameplay. Do you think? Obviously, because like you say, your first game and you heard the crowd when they applauded you when you did something well, or if you didn't, how much do you think that affects a player?
Oh, I think it's, we play with guys that love that shit, that they feed off of it.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. I think it's definitely going to have an effect. I think it's going to be crickets. You'll hear the talkers in a game now, because the silent ones that like, they're like, oh, I'm talking, but you're not really talking,
right?
And they don't say shit. So I think that will be interesting. I mean, shit, they're saying mid-June or so, and you see in the game against Dortmund and Schalke, and after the game, the players go over and they clap their fans
and do everything, and no fans. I like that. What about the celebration?
Have y'all started training yet?
We start next week.
Start next week. Okay.
Start next week. So we got to do testing the beginning of this week, and then we go from there. So, yeah, bro. I just want to get back to playing, man. Just want to get back to playing.
Hey, Geoff, we have a segment we call
Say what? What?
And we play a clip, and we're gonna play a clip from Jermaine Jones, another teammate of yours and teammate of the rest of the guys on the podcast. He has a brand new podcast out called 13 and Me, and he had another former U.S. men's national team player, Eddie Johnson, who came on the show. And we're just going to play a little snippet from them and then see what your thoughts on it. Here we go.
What I'm saying is we don't develop enough Jermaine Jones, Clint Dempsey's. Why? Because all of the kids that are playing on these top teams, parents are financially stable. They're all rich kids. Yeah. So you can't teach a rich kid how to be a warrior, how to fight during trials and tribulations, or how to earn things when things are difficult in life.
And that segment is about Eddie Johnson, and I kind of disagree. I think I hear what he's saying, but at the same time, I asked about Geoff, what was your home like? Because I know a lot of kids that were rich who had everything, but their parents and their morals and their values and what they wanted and goals of life, they were very determined and worked hard. What do you guys feel about that?
I want to hear what Geoff says. Yeah.
Oh, you want to hear what I say?
Yeah.
I would say I agree and I disagree, because I do think like you meet guys like Eddie and like Clint. Clint came from, nothing, and he had that chip on his shoulder, and he had that swag about him. He had that ruthlessness. He had that fight determination. And then you had Eddie, the same thing. But you also have guys that came from wealthy backgrounds or financially stable backgrounds that had the same mentality.
Yeah.
I think it's just more of how you're raised and how you're brought up. I mean, shit, I didn't come from a wealthy family. I didn't have all the luxurious things, but I didn't come from a struggling area. Like, I had food on my table and this and that. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't hard I didn't see that.
You didn't need for anything. Yeah.
my parents did everything they possibly could to put food on the table, make sure that I was okay. And I have this same mentality. I would say I'm a fighter. I don't like losing. Maybe I don't have the chip on my shoulder or anything like that, or maybe I'm not as cutthroat as Clint. But I mean, Clint's a baller. His skill set is different.
Yeah.
From mine.
I think, in my opinion, his comment really, for me, it isolates a demographic for no reason, right? So you want to punish a child because of his parents' success, and saying that because his parents are successful, they don't have the ability to instill in him good ethical values of hard work. Right. And that's ultimately how they became rich most of the times, right?
Because they've earned, or they've learned how to get, like, they became ruthless. They were fighters, and they developed. Maybe they started from nothing, right? And they added an amazing business.
You have the Eddie Johnsons, you have the Clint Dempseys, obviously, and there's a lot more examples in urban areas that have that grit, but that doesn't take away from other kids and their abilities that probably didn't grow up, wanting.
I would say that the hardest thing for me is, looking back in the ODP, and I go home and you see all these coaches thinking they're like Pep Guardiola and all this shit. I'd say it's the arrogance and like the coaching. Like, I had people tell me I would never make it because I was small, and like, for me, that fueled the fire. And like, who the hell are they to tell me that I'll never make it when they've never played at the highest level, when they don't know, like, and this is what I see, like, you hear back home, and you see coaches, all you have to do is go to a club tournament or whatever. You see all these coaches walk around with their track suits and like thinking they're like
they big time because it's the egos they get from these parents,
of course,
and in their little pockets. I tell these coaches, I've laughed, and I said, listen, you're the man in your little town, right? But it's a big world of football out here.
Of course.
And how many players have you developed? And that's another thing, right? It's only so much a coach can do to develop a player. Like you said, it comes from your parents, your environment, your athletic ability. All these things go into it, and luck, right? Go into making it.
You got to have luck.
One thing I want to say is that I think for me I think that does play what Eddie was saying. Like you said, you agree and disagree. But I think the problem we might have in this country is the fallback, meaning soccer is not the end of all. Like we don't have to, I'm going to try to play soccer is cute, but if I don't make it, I know I can do X, Y, and Z, right? And some people.
Jeff, you're on mute.
Yeah, Jeff, we can't hear you.
I don't know why it keeps doing that.
Yeah.
Because you got more opportunity. You can go play basketball, you can play baseball, you can play football.
Exactly.
Like, you have other sports.
Not even that though. You have, even if you don't have sports, you got school. Because a lot of even players, even RU17 national team Gooch, they all came, half of them went pro, but their careers only lasted 6-7 years. But because they went to school, they're all 4 years, they got a great degree, and they could be making more money, doing something else. But that was always in the back of their head.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if soccer doesn't work, I can go be a doctor. I can go be a lawyer.
Which is a good thing, but not necessarily makes the best athletes or the best soccer players and be most successful. I take, for instance, a guy coming out of New York, Jordan Celia.
Yeah.
And Jordan was a hell of a player, but Jordan went to Duke. When Jordan was getting pushed around MLS, he was like, "Listen, I got a degree from Duke. I'm out of here."
See you later. I'll make more money doing something else.
Exactly.
I gotta do what fitness tests?
And he is.
But on the flip side of it, in my situation, I ended up finishing my degree and whatever, but I didn't want to do anything else.
Yeah,
that wasn't in the back of my mind. When I was in college, I'm like, I want to get a degree so I can fall back on it.
Yeah.
That's not my main priority. My main priority is I want to make it pro, whether it's, like playing MLS or whatever. Like, if I didn't make it the MLS, I would have gone overseas. I would have gone to like some Scandinavian country or play some league or whatever. And I would have tried to make my path there.
And to be fair, Jeff, you did it. You went all 4 years, graduated, went to the MLS to Europe. You know what I mean? So like, you did literally, you completed every stage of the progression.
And it's, I look back and like, you play with guys I play with guys at like Man United, Chelsea, all these academies, And I'm like, damn, you guys have been playing in these academies for that long? And you guys, can you, like, I'm like, wait, you signed when you were 13, 14 years old and you were at Man United? And you were at Chelsea? And then they're at Stoke. And I'm like, they all know each other because they like grew up in like the academy system. And I'm like, you guys have no idea. I had to go to high school. I went from high school. I had to go to college. I had to get scouted to go to college.
SATs.
College. Yeah. I hate tests. And I went to, and then you go from there, you get drafted. And then from there, you're lucky enough if you got drafted, right? You're fortunate enough if you get drafted. And then all of a sudden, you're in the MLS and you could stay there for the rest of your career, or you go somewhere else. And it's crazy, bro. Like, cause you look at it, you're like, man, what if I came over here when I was 14? Would I be the same player? Would I have been in a better situation? These guys have been making money there since they were 13, 14 years old. Parents didn't have to pay anything.
So Geoff, I just want to congratulate you. I think I read that you solidified your contract with Queens Park Rangers. Are you good for?
Yeah, so I have another year left. Yeah,
so
next year.
What's your thoughts on coming back to the MLS? I know that you're 34 years old. Great, you had a fantastic run over in Europe. Are you any thoughts about coming home and
Yeah, I've been thinking about it, man. It's definitely appealing to me for sure. But I just want to go. If I'm going to go back, I want to go back in the right situation.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm not going back to retire and like hang on my boots and that's not me. I want to go back. I want to finish, play as long as I can. I want to play till B's age, like 40 years old, man.
I think B's might be 45. I think B's might be 45.
But I want to play as long as I can and at a highest level. And playing over here for another year. If I earn another contract next year, who knows? But I think it has to be a right situation financially, contractually, but like most of all, like for my family, the move and all that kind of stuff. So for me, it's definitely been in my mind. It's been a thought for sure.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to a right situation.
So Bees, when you were making that decision to come back to the MLS, how was that process and how did they treat you in terms of?
I didn't want to come to MLS.
Okay.
When I left, I was thinking of going to. I wanted to go to the
China?
like Asia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like China. I wouldn't go over there.
You want to get that payday?
that wasn't in the back of my mind. Yeah, because after that World Cup, I wanted to go, that way. Because I love in my career, I love to kind of moving about. I like different experiences, different challenges.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I felt that if I could go to China, to Dubai, to Abu Dhabi, one of those teams over there, make some more money,
and you can extend your
and
career.
Then I can extend my career. Then the MLS was always going to be there. You know what I'm saying? But it didn't work it that way, and then I ended up going to Houston. So there you go.
So how did that process start? Where the interest expressed from the MLS, or did you express? Or was it vice versa? Did you express?
I didn't, because I didn't have a contract, so it was mutual.
Mutual.
Yeah, because I left Puebla before the World Cup, so I didn't have a team after Brazil, and so I was like, you know what, I'm going to see my options, see what's going on, see what I want to do, and my first option was over there in Asia, see how my game would kind of evolve over there.
Gooch, you left us to probably go do some push-ups or something, but we were asking Geoff about his interest in coming back to the MLS. And I asked Beasley, what was his process like for you coming back from Europe to the MLS? What was that process like? Because what I know about the MLS is it's the mafia. They own the rights of the players, and then they tell what team to go to.
They probably still own Gucci's rights.
My path back was a little different. I wanted to stay in Europe as long as possible. Obviously, I was never a product of the league, right? Like I went straight from my second year of college straight to France. And then towards the end, the latter part of my career, I wanted to come back home. And I wanted to stay on the East Coast. So there's only like a handful of teams I was interested to playing for. It would be DC United, the New York teams, Red Bull and NYCFC, Philly, and maybe Toronto. DC United never, ever, ever had interest in me ever going back. Why? I have no idea whatsoever. The club, the coach, they never had any interest in me coming back. And then at some point, Toronto did. And then I was actually going to sign to NYCFC in 2015. And the day before signing, did my Achilles.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
You remember that? Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, and then I went back to London, did my rehab, came back the next year, and then I was talking to Philly. And then Philly was like, we don't know if you can still play. And I'm like, why would I come out here to embarrass myself, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we don't know. You have to come out here and trial for 5 days. So I was like, I played 2 World Cups. You're gonna have me trial against these first year pros, that's in my mind, I was like, that's a slap in the face.
Wow.
And then I was like, screw it, whatever, I'll do it. And, at the time it was Mo was on the team, Charlie was on the team, Ali was on the team. And so I was like, screw it, this is the first chance I can play with friends, because my whole career, I've never played with friends. And I went, and after the second day, Ernie and what's his name?
Jim Curtin.
Jim, they sat me
Put
down.
some respect to my boy's name.
They sat me down. They came after training. They sat me down. They're like, we apologize. We're so sorry. We want to sign you today. We didn't think that you had as much as you showed, so we apologize. And then it was a done deal. And I played my last year there.
Hey, Geoff, what if they ask you to come on trial?
I just probably
right.
I'd probably,
wait. What if New England told you to come on trial?
I'd stay over here, bro.
Wait. If New England told you come over here on trial, we'll play you 3 times what you're getting paid in the UK.
Money ain't happiness, bro.
Yeah,
money ain't happiness. I want to enjoy my football.
Is that because of New England, or is that because of Bruce?
It ain't because of New England, bro. We're getting into that subject. I'll just say, I have nothing against Bruce or whatever, but I had my differences with him, and the way I was treated. Like I said, I don't want to be a broken record. I've said the same thing over and in other interviews and podcasts. Like I said, I have my disagreements. I just didn't like the way I was treated. That was it.
But it's great, Geoff. For me as a fan looking at, I think all 3 of you guys have experienced some type of disrespect or some type of slant from the U.S. Soccer Federation, and it's almost they forgot what you've done for the program and what you've done for the national team success.
The problem is I'm not part of that revolving door, and I was the outlier, and they didn't know. I didn't come from the, not for, Bees and Gooch, but I didn't come through that U.S. national team, the youth system, residency or anything like that. And, I don't need to kiss the ring or anything to play or whatever. It is what it is. I mean, shit. I played under a couple managers in the Premier League with Tony Pulis and Mark Hughes, and I wasn't Mark Hughes' guy, but I played every single game for him.
Yeah.
That I was fit and available. Yeah. So, and I'm playing against the best talent in the world.
And I don't mean to cut you off, Jeff, but that's exactly what I said about what Jurgen told me. You don't have, because I was making excuses that why I didn't play on, maybe the coach didn't like me. And Jeff just said it right here. He said he didn't have a great relationship with the coach, but he played because he knows Jeff is going to, on that day, he's going to be in the 11 because I know what Jeff's going to bring to the table.
I'll run through a wall for him.
The coach is his job. His job's on line too. You know what I'm saying? So he's going to put his 100%. Best 11, regardless of, you don't like him, you don't like him, whatever. He's going to play his best 11.
And you know what the crazy thing is? I end up
perfect example.
You have your differences, and with a manager, everybody has their ups and downs. 100%. That's normal. That's a player. But it's about respect and the kind of the disrespect or the truth. And Mark Hughes could tell me, hey, you know what? I'm gonna go with a different, lineup tomorrow, and he'd tell you straight up, this is the reason why. And he wouldn't beat around the bush. He wouldn't say, oh, you're not fit enough or this and that. And as a player, you want to hear that more as a respect thing. Like, just tell me the truth. Don't beat around the bush or whatever. And it was more of that because, you know, guys had their differences with Jurgen. I had my differences with Jurgen, but I mean, he valued me and he played me. And when, you know, the games that were big games, I played. And he you know, I'd have to move to right back because we had an injury. I hated right back. I had to play right back at Stoke.
Yeah.
But like, I had to do it for Marcuse because he trusted me. He trusted me more than playing a right back at the time. We had a right back that played regularly. And he said, you know what? I want you on the field over him.
Yeah.
And I'm not even a right back.
I just proved my point. Yeah. You right.
And, you know, like, you have that, and he knows that, like, you're going to run through a brick wall for him. You're going to leave it on the field. I do that every game. If I have a shit game, I have no problem. But at least I work my ass off. And I can walk up the field like, I was shit today. I had some bad passes. I made a few mistakes. But I worked my ass off. And, you know, the next week, I'll make it up for the manager. I'll have a good game. And I'll still continue to work my ass off and prove my worth. And, you know, Marcuse, he had a whole team that different style from Pulis, from long ball direct, that had guys that he didn't really like, and he had to deal with it. And we end up having, you go from a team that's like 14, 15 to top 10 4 years in a row. And you go, damn. And it's not like we signed some other players, but I stayed consistent. And I wasn't his guy. About 4 or 5 other guys weren't his guys. Our defenders, some of the midfielders. But for me, it was the whole experience of when the transition, when Jurgen got fired, and then when Bruce came in. I was injured for the first 2 games against Mexico and Costa Rica with my knee. And then I kind of joined up, and I kind of heard everything that happened in the Mexico game or whatever. And then Bruce comes in, and it was kind of like a different Bees, and you remember it. It was a different environment. It wasn't. It was more relaxed. It was less challenging in a way. But then it was kind of like, I felt like it was more of like, okay, screw these guys a little bit. And no matter what I did, I wasn't his guy. I didn't play for him in LA. I didn't play in the MLS. And then all of a sudden, like, I became a scapegoat after the World Cup when we didn't qualify. He's like, oh, there was bad eggs. What? How was I a bad egg? Because what? I said straight up, I said, this is bullshit. Like, you called me into camp saying I wasn't fit enough, but I played 90 minutes against Southampton and ran like 11K. You know, what are you talking about? How are you going to say I'm not fit? And then I have to sit down in a meeting with all these coaches saying, you know, you're an experienced guy. We want you here, this and that. And the thing is, if you look at the training, I played well in training. And the thing is, people, and then he says all this stuff, and I'm like, I got emails of correspondence between him and I. I could put that all out and be like, this is what he said. This is
put it out. Put it out.
But the thing is, I know the truth. I know what I was told and what he said to me. And realistically, it is what it is. He said, at the end of the day, he said I wasn't fit enough, and he said I wasn't sharp enough. Well, that's bullshit, because I played 90 minutes against Southampton. And I was injured for 2 weeks. Okay. You know, my play speaks for itself. If I wasn't fit enough, I wouldn't have played 90 minutes against Southampton.
No chance.
And you know what? At that point, we were like kind of struggling in the kind of relegation area. And Mark Hughes is like, if you're going to the national team, you better play, because if not, I want you here. And stay fit, stay healthy. Because it's a risk, me going over there. And then you go.
Especially coming off an injury.
Of course. So it's like, and that was the thing. I wanted to go. I wanted to help the U.S. I wanted to play. But as soon as I got there on that Sunday, he already had the starting lineup already put. I was like, wow, this is some bullshit.
Wow.
Like, come on, man. And it was more of just the kind of the sly, and like I didn't have anything to defend myself. I mean, when he's making quotes and saying stuff about a whole team of guys that are experienced veterans, and he says, I did the best that I could with the talent that I had. Fuck, that's a slap in the face to everyone.
Quick question,
you know?
Geoff. I got a quick question. You played how many years professionally? 55 caps with the national team, multiple goals. Do you think your national team legacy or U.S. soccer legacy has been at all tainted? Like people don't
100%.
really respect the player that you were for the program.
Nah. But the thing is, look, all my caps, I didn't play any Gold Cup. I didn't play any of that. You look, I never played one Gold Cup in my career. Not one.
You play all qualifying, World Cup qualifying,
all qualifying
matches.
or like friendly games.
Friendlies, yeah.
But like,
all World Cup shit.
So like you look at all the games that you would play in a Gold Cup. You play like 10 games. Mm-hmm. You're right. I mean, you think about it.
I didn't think about that. Yeah.
You know, and like I could get a bunch of caps if the thing was, when I kind of started hitting with the national team, it was like just in the beginning as Jurgen, and I was just kind of going over to Europe. So it was I had the qualifiers in the beginning of the summer, and then I'd have my off season, and then I'm going back for preseason. So I wasn't allowed to do the Gold Cup. Mm-hmm. And then when I was in the MLS, I wasn't really chosen because I was just a young kid, and mm-hmm. they had the veteran MLS guys. But you know, for me, you're right, Gooch, because I do feel like, and then I came out, you know, the Players Tribune, and I wasn't trying to call. I mean, I could have called out a lot more stuff, but I was just trying to see like this was the problem. This is the system that needs to be fixed. Because for me, whether people agree with Jurgen or not, he was trying to bring that European system over here to the U.S. Yeah. And you know what's crazy? Because I was talking to these kids in San Antonio, the academy directors, they were saying, these coaches were like, ever since Jurgen's been gone, there's been no direction for the academies. And now they just canceled it. Yeah. They said because it was like a structure thing. It was like what their idea and what their philosophy was and what they were kind of like leaning towards and grooming for. There
definitely some type of vision and started with the top going all the way down to academy, and Jurgen was very, very key on that, you know,
because he was trying to bring that German system,
and that's the reason why we brought him in. That's what I thought, right? It's
more time. That's the like what Gooch said. Like, I feel like, mate, I got over 200 and something appearances in the Premier League or whatever, and 55 caps and whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, I've had a successful career. Yeah, it sucked. I got relegated, and we didn't qualify for the last World Cup. But you experience those things as a player. You have your ups and downs in your career, and whether you want to you have these broadcasters that think they're Mr. Perfects and know it all, and they didn't have anywhere near the career that we have had, that Gooch, Bees, or myself have had. They didn't put themselves like where we are.
Well, Geoff, we want to change that dynamic and realize that we want to control the media and bring people like yourself, who we think is a phenomenal career, phenomenal player, phenomenal person, and we want to applaud you and let you know that what you did for the country and what you accomplished is something that us as footballers know how hard it is to reach and how hard those goals. And again, we don't have to wait for the other people to kind of verify us. We can do it ourselves.
I appreciate that, bro. Bees, what do you think about that? Like, what do you think about the situation and like with Bruce and all that, and kind of your experience with
why didn't we qualify for World Cup, Bees? What was the
why didn't we?
Yes.
I mean everybody. I agree with the fact that it wasn't just one game for one.
Yeah.
I think. What Geoff spoke about it earlier, he said, the vibe was different. The vibe of the team. When you talk about a team and a team trying to qualify for a World Cup or playing in a World Cup or whatever, you need those that part right. You need to get the right people. However you see your team, plays on the field, plays off the field, but the vibe when you walked into camp, it didn't feel right. You know what I'm saying? It was. Wow. I think people's mentality were on other things, it wasn't just about, qualifying. I think everyone thought it was going to happen, and I think that's what
it was like strict.
And I think that's what Geoff touched on. It was a lack of days. I wouldn't say lazy, but it was.
The training sessions were good, but it was.
You know what I'm saying?
I
think we lost that. We lost that bit, and to be honest. you know, I hold, you know, the veterans, you know, more so accountable, myself included, you know, when I was in camp, that we didn't do enough for the guys that would, you know, go into the world cup qualifying cycle, or maybe try and get to the first World Cup. You know, we didn't set a better example as far as, you know, leading the team in the right way. And I don't think we did that. And for me, from, you know, coaches changed from going from Jurgen to Bruce, you know, that part didn't really bother me as much. It was more so the fact that I think as a group we let ourselves down in our mentality of what was really at stake. You know what I'm saying? And for me, and I say this because I had somewhat of a backseat this time, because, you know, I was brought in on a different
assistant coach.
No.
You had a different role to play.
A different role. You know, I wasn't so my point is I got to see from a little bit of a background, you know, people's mannerisms, how people, you know, act to react to certain different things, and, you know, what's being said, because, you know, I wasn't a starter, you know. I was a more of a role player. If you needed another left back to come in, or games that, you know,
you would fill in,
I would fill in, you know. So that was my role on the team. So I got a chance to kind of sit back and actually, like, really open my eyes, open my ears at what was going on around me. And like I said, the whole vibe, the mentality was wrong. And I do put a little of that on Bruce, you know, because when he came in, the whole kind of, it felt that, you know, everyone could just relax. Like, okay, yeah,
everything's gonna be okay. We're gonna.
Yes, it's okay. You know, it wasn't. You know, it was just like, okay. You know, the weight is lifted off the shoulders. You know what I'm saying? And I think that part was really lacking with that World Cup. Well, that cycle.
Definitely, man. But I just want to say that, Geoff, man, we're looking forward to your transition. If it's another club in Europe, or if it's coming back to the MLS. I'm excited because, you know, I get a chance to see your journey from college to now. I'm very proud of you. And you are the person, a versatile player who's been through injuries, ups and downs. You always kind of steered the ship and kept on going. So I just wanted to, again, applaud you. I want to say and thank you for you coming on to our show and being our first. You birthed us, sir.
First guest.
Jeff, I want to say congrats to the little man you had about 4 months ago, man, being a new dad.
Cheers, bro.
Congrats, congratulations, man. Congratulations.
Thanks, man.
What's his name?
Thanks. Caleb Cameron.
That's big
Caleb
time,
Andrew
man.
Cameron.
Awesome.
Yeah, bro. He's got more hair than you, Bees.
I can imagine.
Hey, you know, it's funny.
It's looking all shiny. It's I'm good to go.
I can see my reflection.
Hey, you know what? And we can sit here and talk until B's hair starts to grow, but unfortunately, you know, we gotta cut it. But again, terrific show, guys. Thank you, Geoff, for being part of our history.
Appreciate it, Jeff.
Hopefully, we get you back on here when you know, you do make your decision, your next move.
Anytime, boys. Anytime, you know that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into the Crack Podcast, and we see you guys next week.